What if everything you thought you knew about Wikipedia was a carefully constructed lie? Larry Sanger's recently leaked correspondence exposes the dark reality of how information is actually controlled online, and why your favorite 90s internet freedoms are now completely dead. What I'm about to tell you about was never meant to be public. But sometimes the truth is too explosive to contain. My industry source revealed to me that Larry Sanger, the forgotten co-founder of Wikipedia, has been silently waging a war against what he calls the information cartel. And his private emails, which were mysteriously leaked just days ago, paint a picture so disturbing that big tech executives are scrambling to contain the fallout. Between you and me, Larry Sanger isn't just some disgruntled ex-employee with an axe to grind. He's the man who helped create the very platform millions rely on daily for information. And now, he's become its most vocal critic. These leaked emails reveal something far more sinister than anyone could have imagined about the website that claims to be the free encyclopedia anyone can edit. The truth that's finally being exposed is that Wikipedia, that innocent-looking website you've used since high school, might be the centerpiece of what Sanger describes as the most successful mind control operation in human history. Strong words from the man who helped build it, wouldn't you say? But before I reveal what these leaked emails actually contain, you need to understand who Larry Sanger really is. Because what the tabloids don't know is that his story is far more complex than the simplified narrative you've been fed. In 2001, Sanger and Jimmy Wales launched Wikipedia with the utopian vision of creating a truly democratic knowledge base. Sanger, holding a PhD in philosophy, brought intellectual rigor to the project, coining the term Wikipedia and establishing many of its original policies. But by 2002, he had abruptly left the project. The official story was creative differences, but these leaked emails suggest something much darker was at play. My source, who works closely with several major tech platforms, confirmed that Sanger has been keeping detailed records of his communications with Wikipedia executives and big tech leaders for over 2 decades. He knew someday the world would need to know what was happening behind closed doors, my source explained. He just didn't expect it would leak this way. The first bombshell these emails reveal is that Wikipedia's famous neutral point of view policy, the very foundation of its claimed objectivity, was deliberately abandoned years ago. According to Sanger's private correspondence with a senior Wikipedia administrator from 2018, there was a calculated decision to allow certain political and corporate interests to influence article content while maintaining the illusion of neutrality. In one particularly damning email dated March 2019, Sanger writes, "They've created a system where certain topics are untouchable. Try editing articles about pharmaceutical companies, controversial political figures, or anything touching certain ideological positions. Your edits will be reverted within minutes by the same circle of power users. This isn't accidental, it's by design, but that's nothing compared to what happened next." The emails reveal that around 2015, representatives from 3 major tech companies, and I have to be careful here about naming them specifically, approached the Wikimedia Foundation with a proposal. They wanted privileged access to Wikipedia's editorial infrastructure in exchange for financial support and algorithmic favoritism. What's shocking isn't just that this happened, but that according to Sanger's emails, the Foundation agreed. Between you and me, this explains something that's puzzled internet researchers for years. Why certain Wikipedia articles seem impervious to correction despite overwhelming evidence, while others change with the slightest breeze of public opinion. It's not random. It's not the wisdom of crowds. According to these leaked emails, it's a carefully orchestrated system of information control. In one exchange from 2017, Sanger writes to a former Wikipedia colleague, "Remember when we thought we were democratizing knowledge? What a joke. We've created the perfect Trojan horse for corporate and political interests to control the information landscape while appearing objective. And the worst part, nobody suspects a thing. They don't want this getting out, but Sanger's emails contain detailed examples of specific Wikipedia articles that were manipulated at the request of powerful interests. One email thread from 2020 discusses how a controversial political figure had negative information systematically removed from their biography through coordinated action by allegedly independent editors who were actually connected to a PR firm. The third revelation, and this is where things get truly disturbing, involves what Sanger calls the censorship cartel. His emails describe regular meetings between executives from major social media platforms, search engines, and yes, Wikipedia, to coordinate their approach to problematic information. What they've been hiding is that these aren't just casual conversations. They're strategic planning sessions to determine what information the public should and shouldn't see. One email from early 2021 contains Sanger's notes from a conversation with a whistleblower inside one of these companies. The whistleblower describes how certain political topics are flagged for special treatment across all major platforms simultaneously. It's not just that they're censoring the same content, Sanger writes. It's that they're working together to do it, creating the illusion of independent validation when it's actually coordinated action. But wait, there's something even more shocking buried in these emails. Sanger apparently discovered that Wikipedia's internal algorithms don't just organize information, they actively suppress certain viewpoints. According to technical documents attached to one of his emails, Wikipedia uses sophisticated detection systems to identify and flag edits that contradict certain established narratives, regardless of the sources cited. These flagged edits are then routed to specific administrators who are trusted to handle them, usually by reverting them and warning the editors. An email from 2022 reveals Sanger's growing alarm. The internet was supposed to democratize information. Instead, we've created the most effective censorship system in history, one where people believe they have access to all information, while actually receiving only what passes through invisible filters. And Wikipedia is the cornerstone of this system because people still believe it's neutral and community-driven. What the tabloids don't know is that Sanger has been meticulously documenting these practices for years, gathering evidence from insiders, and building what he calls in one email, a case that will eventually break the information cartel wide open. Now, you might be wondering why this matters to you personally. Let me explain something crucial. Wikipedia isn't just a website you visit occasionally. Its content feeds directly into Google's knowledge panels, virtual assistants like Alexa and Siri, and countless other systems that shape your understanding of the world. When Wikipedia is compromised, everything downstream is affected. My industry source revealed to me that these leaked emails have sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. Emergency meetings have been called. PR teams are preparing responses. Legal threats are being drafted. They're terrified, my source said, not because what Sanger is saying is false, but because it's true, and they never expected these private communications to see the light of day. In one particularly prophetic email from 2019, Sanger wrote, "The 90s vision of the internet as a free, open exchange of ideas is dead. We now have an information landscape controlled by a handful of corporations who decide what billions of people see, believe, and think. And the most insidious part is that most people have no idea this is happening. Between you and me, the timing of these leaks is particularly interesting. They come just as Sanger has been developing what he calls the decentralized web, a new vision for online information that would be immune to the kind of centralized control he describes in his emails. Coincidence? My sources suggest otherwise. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. The fourth revelation in these emails suggests that the influence extends far beyond just online information. According to Sanger's correspondence with several academics, major research universities have begun aligning their publishing standards with Wikipedia's content policies, creating a circular system where academic sources are influenced by Wikipedia, which then cites those same sources as reliable references. In a 2020 email to a university professor, Sanger writes, "We're witnessing the collapse of independent knowledge verification. When Wikipedia can influence what gets published in academic journals, and then use those same journals to justify its content, we've created a perfect closed loop of information control." The implications for science, medicine, and public policy are terrifying. They don't want this getting out, but there are emails suggesting that certain pharmaceutical companies have directly influenced Wikipedia articles about their products and competitors through networks of paid editors who know how to work within Wikipedia's system without triggering red flags. It's not crude editing, Sanger explains in one email. It's sophisticated narrative management, emphasizing certain studies, downplaying others, framing side effects as rare rather than common, subtly discrediting critics. And because it happens slowly, through multiple editors, over months or years, it's nearly impossible to detect unless you know exactly what you're looking for. The truth finally exposed in these emails is that Wikipedia has transformed from a democratic experiment into what Sanger calls the perfect propaganda platform. Influential enough to shape public opinion, trusted enough that people rarely question it, and opaque enough that its mechanisms of control remain hidden from public view. But that's nothing compared to what happened next. Perhaps the most shocking revelation comes from emails dated just last year, where Sanger describes discovering an artificial intelligence system being tested within Wikipedia, not to help write articles, but to identify and counter what the system deems problematic viewpoints being introduced by human editors. They're building an automated guardian of approved thought, Sanger writes in an email to a tech journalist who apparently never published the story. An AI system that can work tirelessly, 24/7, to ensure that certain narratives remain dominant while others are subtly suppressed. No human team of editors could achieve this level of information control, but an AI system can. And the scariest part, it's learning what to censor not from explicit instructions, but from observing patterns in what human administrators have suppressed in the past. Between you and me, this explains the eerie consistency in how certain controversial topics are handled across Wikipedia, a consistency that has puzzled many observers who understand how chaotic crowdsourced projects typically are. My industry source revealed to me that several major tech executives are specifically named in these emails as being complicit in what Sanger calls the systematic dismantling of information freedom. Names that, if confirmed, would shock even the most cynical observers of big tech. In one particularly candid email from 2021, Sanger writes to a former colleague, "Remember when we worried that governments would be the greatest threat to internet freedom? We were so naive. It's the corporations that have created the most effective censorship system in history, one that operates behind the scenes without any democratic oversight, all while maintaining the illusion of openness and neutrality. What they've been hiding is that this system extends far beyond Wikipedia itself. According to these leaked emails, the same mechanisms of control have been implemented across multiple platforms, creating what Sanger describes as an invisible web of information management that spans the entire internet. Most people still think they're seeing a complete picture of available information when they search online, Sanger writes. They have no idea how thoroughly their information landscape is being curated, shaped, and restricted, not by transparent algorithms they can understand, but by hidden systems designed specifically to influence what they think while leaving no fingerprints. The truth finally exposed in these emails is that the internet's promise of democratized information has been systematically undermined, replaced by what Sanger calls a corporate feudalism, where a handful of platforms determine what billions of people can see, say, and ultimately think. But here's where things get truly personal for you, the viewer. These leaked emails reveal that this system of information control is expanding into new territories, specifically targeting independent content creators who challenge mainstream narratives. According to Sanger's correspondence with several content creators who found themselves suddenly demonetized or restricted, these weren't isolated incidents, but part of a coordinated effort to marginalize certain perspectives. They're creating an information environment where dissenting voices are quietly suffocated, Sanger writes in a 2022 email. Not through obvious censorship that would trigger backlash, but through subtle algorithmic suppression, selective enforcement of ever-changing community guidelines, and financial disincentives that make certain types of content unsustainable. Between you and me, this explains why so many independent creators have reported strange patterns of suppression across multiple platforms simultaneously. It's not paranoia, it's by design. What the tabloids don't know is that Sanger has been in contact with legislators in several countries, providing them with evidence of these practices and pushing for regulatory action. According to one email from early this year, he believes that only through legal and regulatory intervention can we hope to break the stranglehold these companies have on the flow of information. They don't want this getting out, but there are emails suggesting that attempts to regulate these companies have been systematically undermined through coordinated lobbying efforts, strategic donations to key politicians, and sophisticated PR campaigns designed to frame any regulation as an attack on free speech, even as these same companies are actively restricting the free flow of information. In one particularly pointed email from 2023, Sanger writes, "The ultimate irony is that they've appropriated the language of freedom to protect a system of control. They talk about the open internet while building walled gardens. They champion free expression while creating sophisticated systems to suppress certain viewpoints. They celebrate access to information while carefully curating what information people can actually access. But that's nothing compared to what happened next." The final and perhaps most disturbing revelation in these leaked emails concerns what Sanger calls the endgame. According to his correspondence with several tech insiders, the current system of information control is just the beginning. The ultimate goal, as described in these emails, is nothing less than the complete replacement of independent human judgment with algorithmically curated truth. They're not just trying to control what information people can access, Sanger writes in an email dated just 3 months ago. They're trying to control how people think about information, creating systems that bypass critical thinking entirely by presenting predigested conclusions rather than primary sources that people might interpret differently. My industry source revealed to me that this vision is much closer to reality than most people realize. The technology already exists, my source explained. AI systems that can generate persuasive content, detect and counter narratives that challenge preferred viewpoints, and create the illusion of consensus where none exists. The only thing holding them back is concerns about public backlash if people realized how thoroughly their information environment was being manipulated. What they've been hiding is that these systems are already being tested on real users, not as explicit experiments, but as unannounced feature improvements, rolled out to select audiences to measure their effectiveness at shaping beliefs and behaviors. In one of the most chilling emails in the entire leak, dated January of this year, Sandra writes, "The internet was supposed to be the great democratizer, the technology that would give everyone a voice and access to all human knowledge. Instead, we've created something that increasingly resembles Orwell's Ministry of Truth, where history and facts are constantly rewritten to serve current narratives, and contradictory information simply disappears." And the most frightening part is how few people recognize what's happening. The truth finally exposed in these emails is that the battle for control of online information isn't just about censorship or bias. It's about the fundamental question of whether people will be allowed to form their own conclusions from primary sources and diverse viewpoints, or whether they'll be limited to consuming pre-approved narratives crafted by unaccountable corporate entities. Between you and me, this is why these leaked emails are so explosive. They don't just reveal corporate misbehavior or political bias. They expose an existential threat to the very concept of independent thought. So where does this leave us? What happens now that these emails have been leaked? According to my sources, Larry Sanger is preparing to come forward with additional evidence to substantiate the claims in his emails. The leaked correspondence appears to be just the tip of the iceberg, a preview of a much larger collection of documents, technical specifications, and recorded conversations that Sanger has been gathering for years. They don't want this getting out, but several whistleblowers from major tech companies have allegedly contacted Sanger since the leak, offering to corroborate his claims with their own evidence. The wall of silence that has protected these practices for years may finally be cracking. What the tabloids don't know is that Sanger isn't just exposing problems, he's been developing solutions. According to several emails, he's been working with a network of developers on new protocols for knowledge sharing that would be resistant to centralized control, systems where information couldn't be easily manipulated, suppressed, or removed by corporate gatekeepers. The future of human knowledge can't belong to corporations, Sanger writes in one of his most recent emails. We need systems where information is judged on its merits, not on whether it serves particular interests. Systems that empower individuals to evaluate evidence for themselves, rather than being told what to think. My industry source revealed to me that several major investors have expressed interest in backing these alternative systems, seeing both the ethical imperative and the market opportunity in creating truly open platforms for information sharing. But here's where you come in. The truth about these systems of control only matters if people know about it. The revelations in these leaked emails only have power if they reach enough people to create demand for change. That's why sharing this video might be more important than you realize. It's not just about exposing Wikipedia or Larry Sanger or even big tech. It's about determining whether we as a society will accept an information landscape controlled by unaccountable corporate interests, or whether we'll demand something better. Between you and me, the next few weeks will be crucial. How these companies respond to these leaks, whether mainstream media outlets choose to cover the story or bury it, whether regulators take action or look the other way. All of this will signal whether we're at the beginning of a new era of information freedom, or whether the systems of control Sanger describes will continue to strengthen their grip. What they've been hiding can't remain hidden any longer. The question is, what will we do with this knowledge? And here's where I have to leave you with a question that's been haunting me since I first reviewed these leaked emails. If Wikipedia, the platform we've trusted to provide neutral, factual information, has been compromised in the ways Sanger describes, what other sources of information in your life might be similarly influenced without your knowledge? The truth finally exposed in these emails isn't just about Wikipedia or even the internet. It's about the fundamental question of who controls what you know, what you think, and ultimately who you are. This is just the beginning. In our next video, I'll be revealing the specific names mentioned in these leaked emails, the executives, politicians, and hidden power brokers who have been orchestrating this system behind the scenes for years. It's information so sensitive that my legal team has advised me to wait until we have additional verification before releasing it. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when that video drops. Between you and me, it's the kind of information that tends to mysteriously disappear from platforms once it goes public, so you won't want to miss it. The battle for control of information is the defining struggle of our digital age. And after today, you can never again say you didn't know what was happening. The question is, what will you do about it? Estimated duration, 13.6 minutes.